What is this? South China Morning Post. Hasan Parker's China tour draws fire after viral Tiananmen police encounter. Critics say the U.S. influencer praise for China and on-camera run-in highlights risk for investing creators in a sensitive media environment. American political commentator live streamer Hasan Parker stirred controversy during his ongoing trip to China with a viral encounter in Tiananmen Square and remarks that critics say amount to promoting Chinese property.
President Trump on the U.S. and Venezuela. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning, Vlad. We're at the Roosevelt Roads Naval Station. You probably haven't heard of it because it's been shut down since 2004, but not anymore. In that direction, F-35 fighter jets. They don't want us showing them for obvious security reasons, but all part of this massive military buildup here.
President Trump weighed in last night on possible next steps in Venezuela.
We may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
My last question was genuinely not just about the hypothetical. Genuinely, would you not want to stop them? Is it purely a hypothetical? If we all knew 100% that every boat was a drug boat, again, hypothetical, let's not go anything outside of the hypothetical question. What? Okay. I like that you asked and said that it was a hypothetical a million times over. Like, what if the Trump administration's lies about these drug boats were real? What then? Great question. I just want to state once again that the Trump administration is lying. The DEA's very own, the DEA, the department, the department responsible for drug enforcement, has its own research that says that Venezuela is not a narco trafficking hub at all, especially not for fentanyl, and that the ships that they are blowing up off of the coastline of Venezuela are ships that are going between Trinidad, Tobago, and Venezuela. For the most part, they're too tiny, and they do not have the capacity to bring drugs and transport them all the way to the American coastline anyway. So let me just explain the facts to you real quick. At most, these are like low-level traffickers if there is any validity to the claims being made by the Pentagon at all. But the hypothetical, what if those lies that the Trump administration is telling is real? What do you do then? Very simple. The first thing you're supposed to do is actually reach out to the Venezuelan government, or whichever government, right? Whichever government that you suspect is turning a blind eye to drug trafficking that's coming out of their shores. And you say, hey, you have to handle this. This is a big problem. You have to handle this. It's harming our citizens down the line. And if they don't actually do that, if they don't actually, you have to respect their sovereignty, and you have to say, hey, you got to deal with this. We have to do a cooperative task force where we will give you intelligence on these drug traffickers, and you can apprehend them on your own before they actually get into international waters. And if the government of Venezuela in this circumstance, but any government that you might want to talk to, or that you feel like is responsible for narco trafficking, refuses to cooperate with you, then you park it outside of international waters, and you have a Coast Guard that will apprehend these ships. Under no circumstance do you just laser the ships. No, don't clean it up with hypotheticals. They really just is murder fishermen. No, my point is, even if these guys were drug traffickers that are capable of delivering drugs into the U.S. coastline, then what you're supposed to do is abide by due process. What you're supposed to do is abide by the sovereignty of foreign states. Okay? I didn't hear everything because I picked up an Uber order, but from what I heard, I get what you're getting at. I have a genuine question. If you think China's so much better than America, why don't you live there instead of America? Considering you hate capitalism so much, move to China or Vietnam. If you have capitalism so much, Canada's a perfect example where your beliefs in what works in government is a lie. Brody, you are working at a fucking Uber. Dog, you are an Uber driver. I didn't hear, or wait. You are an Uber driver defending capitalism, brother. What the fuck, man? Hey, yo. You are literally a fucking serf, and you are meat riding capitalism as you go from door to door delivering people's treats. Oh my fucking Lord. He's like, yeah, fuck you, dude. You Palpatine, you are insufferable. Like, dude, I just want you to have healthcare. I want you to have a more meaningful life. I want you to have a good job and good benefits, and no fear that you can get, no fear that you get cooked if you have to go to the fucking hospital. 1099 employee take. I know, but like 1099 employees, I'm a 1099 employee, okay? I'm a 1099 employee for Twitch. Do you think me and him are the same? He thinks he lives life like I do. You feel me? Not an Uber driver. I picked up an Uber. Not an Uber driver. What Canada's healthcare is not good at all is a perfect example of how your ideas on healthcare isn't perfect. Oh my God. Oh my God. Canada is a failed socialist state with its failed socialist healthcare policies. Brother, you don't know. You don't know how bad it gets. Okay? Canada's healthcare is bad because those in power refuse to fund the initiatives so that they can inevitably privatize it. Ontario's a great example of this, right? They refuse to fund government-funded healthcare. There is supposed to be better funded. If socialized medicine is failing, that point of failure is always going to be at the point of funding by the government. If the government refuses to fund it adequately, then yes, there will be issues. Okay, but it's still preferable. And I say this as someone who has experienced American healthcare. It's still preferable to not having any healthcare whatsoever. Okay, that's it. If the goal of the government is to help as many people as possible and create a healthy society, then they have to fund healthcare. What's sad about my trip to China and what I advocate for is that there are many valuable lessons. There are many valuable lessons to learn. I think it's more than Ontario, but okay. No, I was just giving Ontario as an example of privatization that is already being implemented. One of the things that I've always talked about with respect to China is not that like we have to be the same as the Chinese government across the board. That will never happen. Chinese people are different. Chinese history is different. Chinese cultural attitudes are different. Chinese material conditions are different. But there are aspects of Chinese governance that I think we should learn from. That's always been my advocacy. That's always been what I have. That's what I've committed to. We're importing our hogs from Canada now. I know. Canada doesn't really actually care about its own people like it makes them seem. Like it makes them seem to the general public. I'm sorry, but I can't fully get behind what Canada. Dog, I don't believe that either. What are you talking about? Canada is still very much a capitalist country. It just cares about its people more than America does. That's it. But that doesn't really mean much. That's it. Any government. I lost it when you said China was gay. China is gay as hell, bro. That is crazy. It literally is. It's more complicated. I think that they've fallen behind as far as like the legal status, legal recognition, and what do you call it? It's like gay marriage, things of that nature. But like we're quite literally about to go to Chengdu. We're in Chongqing, which is a pretty gay city. It's a lesbian city. And we're going to Chengdu today, which is known as the gay city. And it's different. You know what I mean? Chengdu, not Chengdu. Sorry. Chengdu. When do you have to go to take the train? In a little bit. Yes, we are going to the Giant Panda Conservation Center tomorrow. Everywhere is gay. Gay people exist everywhere. Yes, but it's not exactly how you think it is. It is pronounced like Chengdu. They are wrong. Okay, thank you. Like it's not the way that you think it is. Like under normal circumstances, if you're thinking about like oppression in general, it's usually like the assumption is that you can't even be like visibly gay in public. You know what I mean? And it's not like that. However, they have lagged far behind the Western world in terms of not visibility necessarily, but like legalization of certain aspects of queer existence. It's true. It's true. Is it homophobic to call San Francisco a gay city? I don't think so. I think back in the day, probably. I mean, it's like WeHo. WeHo is the gay city. Are they catching up? No. The problem is, I think they used to be better overall, and I don't know if it's like the replacement, like birth rate and replacement concerns potentially, or I don't know what it is necessarily. Like I don't know what the major factor is, but that's a gay part of town, not a gay city. Grindr was literally banned in China, Lamau, but okay, dog. I don't think you know what you're talking about. Grindr was supposed to be bought by a Chinese app. China wanted to buy Grindr. The American government banned the sale of Grindr to China. I think you can assume why they didn't want that information to be in the hands of I don't know, any inevitably make it its way to any Chinese officials. But most apps are like, China has its own version of most apps. Yeah, they have their own gay dating apps. What is this? What? In places where it's illegal? It's not illegal to be gay in China, chatter. What the fuck? No, they're operating like 90s America. Well, not 90s America. That's not a good. They have a don't ask, don't tell style situation, which is, again, not it's you know, there's a lot of room for growth there. Okay. 2000s America. How come this conversation never comes up when you go to Japan? No, it has come up when we've gone to Japan. It's just not the haters. I talk about it myself. But yeah, Japan has Japan, I think, did they like recently? I think Japan also doesn't. Do they have legal gay marriage now in Japan? I think it was like a recent development, right? You would not refer to it so charitably if you were talking about this type of disgusting policy in America. You always downplay it. No, I don't. I'm not downplaying it at all, because I've literally talked about it with respect to Japan as well. Actually, when I went to Japan, I talked about it extensively as well. And yes, of course, in the United States of America, as an American citizen, I have different expectations. Here we go again, getting dogpiled. Here we go again, getting dogpiled by chatters. Referring to it as lagging behind is crazy, though, is oppression Lamau. Dude, suck my dick. Eat the dog pile, okay? Seriously, what is this? What is this fucking stupid ass, like, oh man, I'm such a victim. You came in and you literally were like, oh, you would be more outraged if this was happening in America. And yes, of course, I would be more outraged if this was happening in America. America doesn't offer any fucking amenities. The only thing you have is like a crumb of fucking social development, okay? And even then, what I'm trying to explain to people is that not everything is all as it seems. Like, the assumption is that, gay people are being arrested for homosexuality out here. That's not the fucking case. And I keep getting baited into having this conversation over and over again, and people refuse to comprehend it. Okay? That's it. There are aspects of LGBT culture and existence in China that has lagged behind the Western world in terms of social standards that have now become the norm in the last decade or so. Having said that, there are certain aspects of gay culture that is also certainly cherished by not only the local populations, but also just like it's not like a country that is expressly, it's the Hamas doesn't like gays bit. Yeah, it's so stupid. And of course, ultimately, I'm going to be a lot more critical of my own fucking country that I'm a citizen of at the end of the day. Yeah, wait until they fucking ban gay marriage here, brother. Like, if it wasn't, it was basically up to like one Supreme Court justice only a fucking month ago where gay marriage was basically being rolled back. And your bitch ass is over here talking about like, oh, what if you were gay in China? It's like, okay, well, you're gay in America. How about your gay ass worry about what we're doing in America? It was like this, and it was up to, basically it was one Supreme Court justice 10 days ago out of the conservative side that just like weirdly is woke about gay stuff and weirdly is woke about Native Americans that basically decided gay marriage and interracial marriage is still safe. Okay. That happened last week in America. Yeah. If we're talking about the LGBTQ community, then are we just ignoring what we're doing the trans people here in this discussion? Yeah, no, it's a way to do that pretty much. It's a way to just like not acknowledge what is going on in our own country by being like, well, he said you were being homophobic earlier, so that's probably why they're in here. I was being homophobic earlier? What? Who the fuck is V? This is just the same as conservatives hate foreign conservative shit. Yeah, ironically enough, but in this circumstance, it's like being advanced by people who are self-described progressives. The U.S. isn't some paragon of gay rights. Right-wing Christian evangelicals are actively working to get countries in Africa to adopt the death penalty for being gay, while simultaneously also fucking complaining about those said African countries and claiming that they're backwater African countries and barbaric. That's the other side of the story. American missionaries, American evangelical conservative missionaries will go to African nations and lobby the governments to basically adopt like death penalties for gay people, and then turn around and go, look, see how fucking backwards these guys are? It's fucking insane. Conservatives hate the conservatism of other countries. It's like, it's the same principle of like people who made it their lives mission and career to just fucking talk about how everything is so woke and gay in America, only to turn around and be like, well, you know, China is anti-woke and anti-gay, and that's bad, actually, which is not even the case. Yeah, see, this is why. From watching your IRL streams, I've actually found out that China is pretty gay. Gay is fucking much gayer than accepting of being gay than I thought it would be. Not as much as I'd hope, but not terrible either. Also, gays in America may have the right to marry, but what does that really matter if they still die due to lack of healthcare? But like, it's not even. That's the point. It's not as black and white. There's a lot more nuance in this situation. Just like it's not as black and white in America. The difference, of course, is that I have, one, a lot more bandwidth to be critical citizen, and both because of, at least as it stands, constitutionally protected freedom of speech, which is a value that I care about, which is a value that I actually enjoy, which is a value that which is a principle that I think should be defended, and I have defended it over and over again. Okay? So like I said, there are certain aspects that are worthy of criticism. Leaf last night was pretty gay, not gonna lie. Yeah, but this is one of the shittiest aspects of like American dominance and Western hegemony, is that there are so many fucking countries, so many developing nations where they just think that like gay issues are Western propaganda and Western degeneracy, partially because of the conservative elements, the social conservatism that exists in some of these countries, and partially because Americans will run around, and even the most progressive American will run around and be like, well, these other countries are actually not, you know, they're not liberating their gays, so we have to liberate them with our Tomahawk missiles. Like, so then there is even more resistance and more repression that the local populations end up experiencing. It's very frustrating. Not gonna lie, it's exhausting every time racist imperialism happens. The morons online, including self-proclaimed leftists, drop all principles to eat the racist bait and blindly go, we are the world police, they are brown and savage. Yeah, it's just fucking so frustrating. However, it is a fundamental part of people's existence. It's a fundamental right that they should be able to get married to whoever they want to get married to. Yeah. Yeah, it's perfectly fine to be gay in China. You're not going to get arrested. People will, in the big cities, will largely be nice to you. Legal recognition, assays, and medication, social expression, especially media. No, even social expression in media is social media is not restricted. So even on that aspect, you're not entirely correct. But anyway, what the fuck are we talking about? I'm literally covering the American government sending aircraft carriers into the Caribbean, and you're over here being like, well, you know.
It's unclear what those discussions could include as the Trump administration plans to...
I feel like China is more accepting in America, not gonna lie. No, I wouldn't say that. Like, I think that there are, as it stands currently, and this might change any moment, just like with free speech, it might change any moment, considering that the American government is actively working to undermine a lot of these aspects. But as far as like social liberties goes, no, America has more social liberties on that front, for sure. They do, partially because of free speech, ironically enough. You get to have that when you are the hegemonic superpower that has dominated the planet. The real test is when your hegemony is waning. America's definitely more accepting of gays. Our president is gay. I would say, do you think China has more or less people who make being anti-queer their whole thing compared to China and America? No, they don't. That's the difference. And a part of that, no, as far as I understand, that's not a thing, right? The whole like, we need to be anti-queer is not even a question. That's the major difference. In America, you have the right flank that's like actively trying to roll back the clock on these sorts of like it's a political football in the Western world, partially because I think under liberalism, it's the only thing that like the left flank party can push for, because they're never going to push for any sort of material change, like significant material change that pertains to the capitalist structure that exists. And therefore, culture war is like the only tool that both the Liberal Party and the Democratic Party, the Liberal Republican Party and the right flank party have at their disposal. So it's not as big as a consideration. Having said that, there's also more of Having said that, there's also more of a almost unified decision that comes that can actually engage in repressive elements that can actually have like some significant consequences for people's day-to-day existence, right? Especially when there is not like any sort of constitutional free speech. But it's not for religious purposes. That's not a real thing here, okay? And it's certainly not for, and I would say the American anti-queer movement is not a religious one either. They just use religion as a fucking reason. But like, and it's not for political purposes, more so like what they want to promote, like masculine men, and potentially not fall into the same issues that other developed nations have fallen into in terms of birth rates and things of that nature, which again, I don't agree with. I'm trans and talk to trans people on Red Note. We're out here too, and they can get treated as major hospitals to my knowledge, but have similar difficulty to access HRT and have to DIY like we do in the West. Yeah. The only time anti-gay narratives become common in China is in regards to portrayal of masculinity. You hear from nationalists in China the promotion of soft or feminine men is influence from the West and Korea, and that should be tampered down. Yeah. Disagree on not religious thing. From 2016 to 2020, a Chinese company owned Grindr. They have since divested nearly all their shares and ownership.
I'm saying, and they just said, nah, that's a drug boat.
Do y'all really believe that they're just blowing up fishermen in Venezuela?
I think it's possible.
Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's dude, that is crazy, Andrew. Yes. How is that far-fetched? This I will not understand. How is that in any way, shape, or form far-fetched that we're just potentially killing random people? We do it all the time. This is the American government. What do you mean? It's crazy.
Yes.
This is where you lose the plot.
This won't be the first time that the Trump administration has not measured twice to cut once.
Yeah, but this is
where the same guy who's using Signal.
Yeah, but this is where you lose the plot, man. Like, this is what's going to happen.
Well, here's the thing. To your point.
It's like getting upset at Trump for renovating the White House. Like, there's all these people who've never even been in the fucking White House.
What if you just
Well, it's not that it's not a religious thing. These moneyed interest groups definitely partner up with religious institutions like American Money partnering up with the Orthodox Church in Romania to fund anti-gay, social, and political movements. No, I was just saying that, like, my point was broader about in the anti-gay, anti-queer movement in America is not propped up by religious institutions that claim to be religious. I was just making a broader point about how these guys are not real fucking Christians. Okay, it's a classic take, but that was the point I was trying to make. Like, all of those places build themselves as religious institutions, but if they truly were, they would be worried about fucking improving people's lives rather than constantly trying to find a different way to divide society, constantly trying to find a different way to just like attack their fucking neighbors. It's the least Christian thing you can do, technically. Okay, it's just a fucking grift. My point is, evangelicals, their only political expression becomes violence towards those that are different than them, and that in and of itself is fundamentally the opposite of what the religion is supposed to teach you. Okay, that was the whole point. Obviously, yes, they are religious institutions, they are religious think tanks, and they do utilize Christianity. But I'm saying that they utilize Christianity as a galvanizing factor rather than to abide by real Christian values. That was the point. It's fucking ridiculous. If you are actually a real ass Christian, maybe try to be more like Jesus. Be kind to strangers, love them, help them. Don't fucking try to dominate them. That's it. I don't care about any of this shit. All I care about is improving people's lives, okay? Making sure that people have freedoms, making sure that people enjoy their day-to-day existence, making sure that people have an easier go at it. And I think a strong government is an absolute necessity to ensure that. A base material equality that must be afforded to all, okay? Obviously, capitalism is not the best version of that. It doesn't. What is this? South China Morning Post. Hasan Piker's China tour draws fire after viral Tiananmen police encounter. Critics say the U.S. influencer praise for China and on-camera run-in highlights risk for Western creators in a sensitive media environment. American political commentator live streamer Hasan Piker stirred controversy during his ongoing trip to China with a viral encounter in Tiananmen Square and remarks that critics say amount to promoting Chinese propaganda. On Monday, Yu Pengyu, spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in Washington, shared on X, formerly Twitter, an interview Piker did with the state-run global television network last week. Reason why mega U.S. influencer Hasan Piker is in China. In the interview, Piker, who has 1.6 million followers Oh, damn. Spokesperson of China's embassy in Washington shared my fucking clip. In the interview, Piker, who has 1.6 million followers on X, said he wanted to visit China because there's a lot of rumors about China, there's a lot of misunderstandings, and also just outright lies. And it's just another normal country like every other country is. The 34-year-old self-described socialist added that visiting China was a dream come true and that he wanted to see what the U.S. can adopt and emulate from the country. The comments drew backlash. Michael Sobolik, a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, criticized Piker on X for attempting to normalize the Chinese Communist Party. He's holding it up as something for America to emulate, disgusting and un-American, also entirely unsurprising. Piker's activities have fueled debate over Western influences in China at a time of heightened geopolitical tensions and weakened people-to-people U.S.-China exchanges amid disputes over trade and technology. The controversy escalated when Piker said during a live stream that he didn't feel any patriotism for America or any country, followed by footage showing him confronted by a Chinese police officer, a clip that has since surpassed 5.7 million views on X. The nearly 2-minute video shared by conservative Australian activist Drew Pavlo shows Piker and his crew being stopped by a police officer while waiting to watch the daily sunset flag raising ceremony in Tiananmen Square. The officer interrupts Piker's live stream and asks to review the most recent footage, after which the broadcast abruptly cuts to black before resuming a few minutes later. Liu He, researcher at the Hoover Institution, said the video's real significance was what it illustrated about China's tightly controlled media environment. Foreigners are finally becoming to see the reality that Chinese are intimately familiar with day in, day out, and have long attained a skin-level understanding of, Liu said on X, referring to online restrictions. Piker, meanwhile, has defended his comments and dismissed his criticism of the live stream on Monday from Chongqing, China, describing the incident with the police officer as a minor mishap, saying he had not had a negative experience at all in the past 8 days, not even a little bit. In an earlier video, Piker said the police officer just wanted to make sure that the group of white boys were not making fun of the ceremony. Since arriving, Piker has also been posting videos from high-speed trains, sharing insights about Chinese culture and daily life. The controversy highlights the growing trend of high-profile American influencers visiting China, sparking debate over cultural engagement versus perceived propaganda. Earlier this year, iShowSpeed, a YouTube sensation from the U.S., was caught in a similar whirlwind after Chinese government officials and state media hailed his visit as evidence of a growing desire for mutual understanding amid escalating trade frictions. It's true. I think people want to know people. Okay? That's it. We're all fucking human beings at the end of the day. There's different cultures, there's different attitudes, but ultimately, it's never a bad thing to develop a deeper understanding and promote respect and promote a better understanding of and sharing of each other's cultures. Speed was 1,000 times more influential. Man, we only do one news story a day because we have to deal with anti-China shit. Do you think Emiru and Bonnie will get this hate when they go to China next week? No, they won't. Speed was 1,000 times more influential. Yes, because Speed doesn't have to fucking deal with the Hoover Institute, dumbass. The fuck? And also his audience are children. They don't give a fuck. They're just like, there is a lot more liberty there. Okay? It's just, it is what it is. But Piker's no stranger to controversy, where he's 3 million followers discussing everything from the war in Gaza. If the video games account has been suspended at least 4 times since 2018 when he started streaming. In May, Piker was detained by U.S. Customs and Border Protection while arriving in the U.S. after a trip to Paris. He later claimed that the questioning was related to his political views. They are going in the spring, not next week. The internet is so shameless, they will not even bat an eye at other streamers going to China but dogpile on you. Yes. You have to understand, a lot of people's analysis around politics, especially in the United States of America, is built around vibes. I try my very best not to do that. And I care about the actual ideology. I care about the actual policies themselves. But for the average person, it's just vibes. And unfortunately, after years and years of dedicated manufactured outrage and controversies around someone like myself, the vibes are not so great. Obviously, when people encounter my commentary on its own without any sort of negative filter, they realize that most of that is just built around lies, right? And then they become fans. This happens all the time. I literally met an Australian who's in the chat right now yesterday on Austin's stream, who said that he was somewhat conservative when he was growing up in Australia, and then he encountered my content and changed his mind. There are 1,000 people like that at any given moment in this community. Okay? The point is, if you are wondering why there's this level of animosity and anger and resentment, is because a lot of people don't like disruption. Okay? A lot of people don't like disruption. And by design, my commentary is somewhat disruptive. I'm constantly telling people that things are not as sweet. Okay? Things are not as awesome. Things are not as awesome as they seem in the United States of America. So even people that experience this kind of pain or anger or resentment they look to that and they go, well, this is making me more angry. And they shoot the messenger. Okay. But I will keep doing what I'm doing because I know that there are still plenty of people who fancy themselves or self-identify as being liberal. But do you think you being smug 24/7 may have something to do with it? Maybe. I think I am a little too autistic in the way that I carry myself. But I'm just myself. Do you want me to be someone different? Do you want me to be like fake nice? Is that what you want me to be? And again, this is proving what I was saying. It's just vibes. You think I'm being smug. And I think part of the reason why you think I'm being smug is because you've seen a lot of negative framing. You know, look, bro, just called all Europeans racist. I don't get it. You're saying all Europeans are racist towards Middle East? What do you generally eat? Do you have tzatziki with bread? Is it just me or is the title grammatically incorrect? Why would you get banned for that? Have you ever been invited to Joe Rogan? Are you a cult leader with HasanAbi heads? Thank God you're not a broke boy. Like you just described you, I don't know. You just always act like you're correct. I watch the stream a lot. Wait, what? Okay, well, I think there's a reason for that. It's not my fucking fault that a lot of the positions I hold that are seen as controversial end up becoming positions that a lot of people also believe, you know? That's not something I can do. That's just the reality. What am I supposed to do about that? Everyone thinks they're correct. I came free with your having a fucking opinion. Yeah, that's true. All right, good morning.
Designate Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization and associate it with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. This comes as the Pentagon announces yet another boat strike Saturday. And the weekend arrival of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's most advanced warship, marks a sharp escalation.
Yeah. So we just landed in St. Croix, and we found something unexpected on the runway here. 2 U.S. military transport ways.
A powerful addition to the heavy firepower in this region we've witnessed ourselves.
It's completely surreal.
Those planes have caught the attention of resident Tony
You guys ready to get on a train?
These huge planes were coming in and going and coming and going.
Military planes.
Yes, what's that all about?
Adding to the uncertainty.
That is the USS Lake Erie. It's a guided missile cruiser. It arrived here a few days ago.
Monitoring the buildup here closely is Samuel Saines, a
So are we going to war with Venezuela?
and the government administrator in St. Croix.
Does it change the temperature here if there are airstrikes in Venezuela?
Yes. We are a little bit nervous for the most part. We are watching the news on a daily basis.
Is the CIA trying to topple a socialist,
So as far as the
prosperous
Trump
Mexico?
administration is concerned, this is still a drug
Is America
interdiction
doing the
mission
thing
called
again?
Operation Southern Spear. But with all this military hardware in the neighborhood, there are plenty of options to expand that operation. Gail?
Yes.
Charlie
yes.
Daggett reporting. Thank you very much.